when did you actually start writing the Dublin Homicides?
That would have been in 2019.
Right,
So
and you've done four already.
yes, I've had four of them published now, and they're quite different. There's quite an international dimension to those, and I'm drawing on my experience in financial services to some considerable extent, where you would not believe some of the weird things that go on. And some of that is featuring in some of those stories as well.
Right. Okay. I just cannot believe the rate at which you seem to be able to produce all this amazing work.
Well, thank you for saying that. It's and now you're inspiring me to get going again.
Oh, well, that's good. It was worth having a chat then.
Yes, it was, absolutely. Yes, yes. Well, I am writing. I am on writing one at the moment. So,
Right.
yes.
Right. So you started writing in 2017,
Hmm.
and obviously that you said your first one was published in 2018. I
Yes.
take it then that it didn't really take you very long to get it published. Did you
Well,
go through a publisher or did you
yeah.
self-publish?
I started by self-publishing. The first two books, which was Murder on the Old Bog Road and Murder at the Old Cottage, I self-published. And to be honest with you, it was a dismal experience. I made a lot of mistakes. I set the price point far too high, which I think is a mistake that a lot of aspiring authors make. I know other people who are self-publishing that have made the same mistake. I mean, the books through the publisher sell on Amazon, the Kindle versions, for either 99 pence or 1.99. So they're really very cheap.
Mm,
Whereas I had pitched my self-published books at sort of 6.99 and 8.99, and that was just way out of range for what I was
right.
doing. And then you have to take the printer, you have to get a printer to print them for you, and you have to hawk yourself around the independent bookshops, trying to persuade them to take 3 or 4 on a sale or return basis, and come back 2 months later and see if they've sold any and collect a very small amount of money in royalties. And the whole thing is just monstrously awkward.
Mm,
Well,
mm,
although I did sell a few hundred books, but it's particularly out in that area. But then I was reading one of the authors' magazine. I think it might have been the writer, and I saw a small ad being inserted by the book folks in an attempt to attract new authors. So I said, oh, well, here goes. So I sent the two books off to the book folks, and Eric Empson, who runs the operation, came back to me and said, look, we think there's something in these. They need a bit of work. Would you be happy to do some work on them with our editor? And then we'll have a look and see if we can publish them. So I did. I took the advice of the editor, rejigged the storyline a little bit in both, and he put them out. And that, as they say, is that. And that was the beginning of the whole episode. And both of those books made #1 bestseller in Amazon's Irish crime section for Kindle.
So
So,
you can actually describe yourself as a best-selling author then.
well, I couldn't possibly, but I would allow others to. Yes.
Well, obviously Amazon say you are. So
Yes, yes, that's right. Yes, yeah. Actually, all of the books have reached that category of #1 bestseller.
that's
Uh,
fantastic. That
yes,
is
I think
great.
it is a little bit unusual. And well, as they say, if it ain't broke, you know.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So you must have people eagerly awaiting the arrival of the next book.
Yes, I have built up quite a panel of readers and fans now, and they do write to me from time to time and say, "When's the next one coming out?" We're champing at the bit, so you have to keep them happy.
That's lovely, isn't it?
Yes, it
And
is.
before we started chatting, I understand that you sell quite a lot to Australia as well.
That's correct. Yes, and I don't think the publishers do a great deal of promotion in Australia. I'm not quite sure. There's a very large Irish contingent, of course, living in Australia,
Hmm.
and the books seem to have chimed with them. I guess it's them. There may be native Australians that like what they're getting as well, but yes, the books do extremely well in Australia.
That's amazing, isn't it? And the power of the internet is just
Absolutely,
remarkable.
it
It
is.
really has opened up our lives to so much now, hasn't
It
it?
has. And of course, the Kindle Lending Library is also a very good vehicle.
Is it?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So so is that in terms of it has helped you reach a different audience? Because I'm sure I'd heard that some authors aren't very keen on it because they don't get much of a return on the lending library.
Yes, the issue there that you've highlighted is quite true. That they pay you per page read, which is a funny way of doing things. And I think it's 0.001 of a cent or something ridiculous like that for each page that is read. But yeah, I know it sounds paltry. But however, nobody reads just one page of a book. So uh, I found that it has helped to spread the word in the United States, where the lending library is very widely used. And
Right.
I think the Americans have some deal where they can sign up for a fixed fee per month and read as much as they like, essentially. And
Right.
so I found that nearly 50% of the royalties that come in from the United States are from the lending library. Now, don't ask me about the calculation. It's a complete mystery to me. And I've no idea how they calculate, how many people have read how many pages, but they have some algorithm that seems to work and deliver some cash.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have to give permission to go into that lending library then?
Well,
Or
the publisher looks after that. Uh,
right.
I'm sure he does have to give permission, and then of course there are audiobooks as well, um,
Right.
and they're extremely popular with certain people. Not the same volume as the Kindle um, offerings, but nevertheless, there's a lot of people that take them. They read them in their or listen to them in their cars or on the train, and they seem to be doing reasonably well also.
And again, that's technology, isn't it? Allowing us to spread our wings and get into various different cars
Yes, exactly.
and people's ears.
I made a bit of a fool of myself early on. I said, when the first ones went out on audio, I said, well, can you send me the CD? And everybody fell around laughing. And said, you fool, you get the app on your iPhone and listen that way. CDs, what are they?
Oh, that's cruel.
Isn't
That's very cruel.
yes. Is he sitting here surrounded by cassette tapes? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you do actually use a laptop to work on, do you?
Oh, yes. Now there's an interesting one. In the early days, I wrote the books out longhand in a manuscript book.
Right.
Yeah, big thick 400-page manuscript book, and I set to using up the world's supply of Bic biros, and I found the difficulty with it was excellent from a creative standpoint. I enjoyed it from that point of view, but the transcription was horrible. Transcribing it into Word just wasn't nice.
Mm.
So I kind of had to retrain myself a little bit. Now I'm very familiar. I've been using IT since, well, for 40 years now. So I'm very competent and familiar with all the applications and so on. But I did, it's a different technique writing on a laptop than writing in a book. It's just different.
Yeah, yeah. And do you, I take it now you do have the same creativity even while you're actually writing on a laptop, or do you
Yes.
still sketch things out first?
Oh, yes. Well, I do sketch out quite a lot in a notebook first or during. If you, as I'm writing, if a particular angle of the plot line comes into my head, and I sort of think, well, oh, yes, I think I should include that, or that would be nice, or there's something I hadn't thought of that I could put in. I'll scribble that down in a book. And I also keep a list of characters because I get confused about my own characters. Isn't that ridiculous?